want to make sure everybody realizes, like, we have this ability to generate a lot of traffic with our blog posts. And this particular blog post right here, not because people have been going and looking for like this listing, right? She did something that we talk about with our listings that was a good idea. She gave it a title that was kind of based around something about the listing, not the listing itself. Like this listing happens to be in the Otter Key condo complex in St. Petersburg, Florida, and this particular listing is 3 years old. Okay, now if somebody was to land on this today, and in fact in the last 30 days, a lot of people have landed, like 60 people have landed on this blog post, but about 15 of them landed there by doing the actual search, Otter Key condos for sale, St. Petersburg. There were 15 people in the last 30 days that did a very specific search to the type of property that I'm sure that Diana represents, even if this particular listing is no longer for sale. And so what happens is people get in here, they might, you know, if they're not interested in this particular condo, after having done a search like, you know, Otter Key condos for sale in St. Petersburg, what are they going to do at this point? They're probably going to leave. Like, there's not a lot else they could do on here. They could potentially pick the phone up and call her. Okay, and so I guess she does a good job of like having her phone number right when we throw it up there on Active Rain. Or maybe they could email her if they were to come over here and like find this email link. So there's two ways here that somebody could reach out to her, but both of those ways would indicate that somebody's a heck of a lot further. Like, they want to talk to an agent right now. So if somebody doesn't want to talk to an agent right now, like what options does she give somebody in a post like this? And there's not necessarily anything wrong with a post like this, but when you look at it from the perspective of like, what else can somebody do? Like, if they wanted an Otter Key condo, can they find other Otter Key condos for sale? Probably not. So let's look at a way that someone else, a better example, did for a particular set of condos in Anchorage, Alaska, okay, the Summerstone condos. And this is Katrina Benton, and in a lot of ways, she's really good at following directions. I've had some individual conversations with her and really showed her, like, this is the way that you want to construct a blog post to make sure that you're taking advantage of the traffic that you're getting to your blog posts. And she's getting some really decent traffic to these kinds of blog posts. And these are posts that have all been written in 2013. And so we're only a couple of months, we're into the 10th month now, the 9th month. So these posts are about 5 months old. But and this particular one is going to be right here where we see it's had 482 clicks on it in the last 5 months. So that's pretty decent. And we'll see, you know, foreclosure properties for sale in Eagle River, 577, Eagle Point subdivision, 528. Like, and all of her posts of this nature have a pretty good number of clicks on them at this point. And what happens when somebody lands on Katrina's post, right? So they've done a similar search to what was getting them to this post, right? Otter Key condos for sale. This one, you know, some of the search behavior was stuff like Summerstone condos in East Anchorage, or Summerstone condos for sale in Anchorage, right? Those types of searches. What they're going to find here is the type of post that we've been talking about throughout this series, right? She's got a post that's evergreen, right? The content on here is going to be pretty good for somebody landing on it today, you know, almost as relevant as it was the day she wrote it. She's got some good calls to action in here, and the first call to action that we see is a good link, right? And we're going to talk about this. She's got an image call to action in here, which actually kind of brings the listings in and allows you to, right, if I wanted to start searching for homes here and I click on this link, I'm going to be sent off and I'm going to be looking at condos in this area, right? She's got a search set up for me already. Okay, as we come down the page, she's got another search kind of based on the price range for these particular condo buildings. She goes a little bit further, and I'm not going to talk maybe as much about this today, but she gives some more kind of options in here for somebody, right? She gives some loan options. So she's got a link for somebody looking to find out what programs they qualify for, how to buy a house with a low down payment. Right? These are good things to have in a blog post for somebody that might be interested. Now, like, these go off then to her website, right? And she's got like a financing tab on her website where somebody can apply for a loan, or she puts her loan officer in front of them. As we come down here a little bit more, and she continues to talk about kind of what's going on around Summerstone condos, right? She's got a link to her website again where she talks about the school information for that particular school district. Okay? And again, think about this from the perspective of the person who typed in Summerstone condos for sale. They want some other information, right? And the more of that we can put forward to them here, especially when it's linking back to our website, the better position we're going to be to potentially capture that person as a prospect for our business. Okay, and she continues to come down here, and she's got some other kind of maps, and she's got some more image calls to action, like, hey, get free community reports, right? So she's got kind of a variety of ways on the page that somebody can potentially interact with her. Now let's jump back over here and let's look at these things a little bit more particularly, but that's a pretty darn good example of what you would want your post to look like at the end of the day. Now, let's first, so when we looked at our examples, let's step back for a second and kind of think about why do people go online as it relates to real estate. So the National Association of Realtors tells us, 90% or whatever, the 91 or 88, it's very high, right? It's a very high percentage of people go online to start their home search, and that same percentage continue to go online throughout their home search, right? So they're not just going on at the start, and they're using the internet all throughout their home search, and in most cases all the way up until the days prior to actually making an offer. And they go online for these three reasons. Okay, they go online to find listings, right? And listings can be found everywhere. Okay, they go online to find home value, and most of you guys have listings on your website, right? If they do general searches like homes for sale in Anchorage, they're going to find Trulia, Realtor.com, Zillow, those sites, right? They go online for home values, so they want to figure out how much is my home worth, or the house down the street sold, and they want to see what that house sold for. And then they go online for information, and information kind of becomes this huge bucket, which I realize this, right? It's the catch-all for every other reason why people go online as it relates to real estate. If they're not looking for listings or they're not looking for home values, they're looking for information, right? It might be information about what the market's doing, what the trends are, what the market reports. They're going online to find out information about particular areas that they want to live. They're going online to find out information about the loan process, or there's all these different reasons why people go online. So let's kind of look at our calls to action from the perspective of why people go online. And the first one is going to be to find listings, and your blog is probably better suited to get you in front of people that are looking for listings than it is to get you in front of people that are looking for home values or for sellers. So if they're going online to look for listings and they find a blog post that we've written, we need to make sure that it's really obvious and easy for them to find the listings, and the most obvious way is going to be via a link. Okay, and we saw a bunch of very good links in Katrina's blog post, and we'll go back and kind of look at those from the perspective of this, right? That the link has some very specific anchor text to it, and there's two sides to why that is, right? The first side would be the person clicking the link understands what they're going to get when they click it, and then the second side would relate back to our SEO class, and in our SEO class we talked about one of those kind of additional opportunities we have for search engine optimization of our blog posts is adding a link that uses the anchor text that matches our keyword phrase. And we'll see that on Katrina's post here in a minute. We want to land them in the exact spot that they think they were going to get. And I'll show you what that means. You can't just tell somebody they're going to find condos for sale in a certain area and then send them to the homepage of your website, or send them to a search page where they have to fill out the options in order to find what it was they thought they were getting. As few as clicks as possible. There's a couple of kind of truths as it relates to lead generation in the real estate space. One truth is the more clicks you make somebody take in order to get what they wanted, the less likelihood that they will do what you wanted them to do. And what you want them to do is once they get over to your website, you'd like them to sign up in some fashion, right? You hopefully would have some kind of a lead capture mechanism on your website that would get them to give you their information, like their name and their email address, maybe a phone number. Now, the more clicks we make them take to find that information they wanted, the less likely they will be to give us their information. Okay, so we need to get them to the right spot as quickly as possible. And then I really believe that when you're using a link out of your blog post as it relates to listings, and again, I'm going to show you this in a second, the listings need to be the primary focus of the landing page. I know maps are fun and cool, and people, you'd like to think that consumers want to know exactly where they want to live, but the reality is they're on there to look at listings. So we want to make those listings kind of the primary focus of that page that they would land on. Here's an example of the link itself, right? And we'll show you again a live version on Katrina's blog post. Right? The title of this blog post is Homes for Sale in Seattle, Cedar Park, right? Cedar Park is a subdivision or neighborhood of Seattle. And in that first paragraph, we're going to see, there's a link in there for Homes for Sale in Seattle, Cedar Park. Somebody clicking that link is going to expect to see listings in that area, I would imagine. A couple of things about this: it needs to be above the fold. And that's an old newspaper term, right? But essentially on a web page, you want to make sure that link is visible before they would have to scroll to try to find it. Because a post like this and a post like Katrina's, and let's go back and look at hers. A post like Katrina's here is not showing us the listings per se on this page. It's giving us a chance to access them, right? So if somebody had landed on this, and this is what the page, now somebody, and they wouldn't see this little gray bar, that's because we're logged in here, but they would see, it would look about like this. So this is the stuff above the fold, right? And when they land here, if what they really wanted was listings in Summerstone, right? They wanted to find the actual condos for sale as opposed to just kind of a good overview of what the complex is like and what's going on in the area and what it would be like to live here. If they just wanted to see the listings, we got to make sure they can find them without having to do anything, without having to scroll with nothing, and it needs to be pretty obvious. And so above the fold, and it's based on that same anchor text that we used in our title, right? Somebody lands here and they want to find condos in this area, they can click this button, and they're going to be right in here, and they're going to find kind of 18 condos that are for sale right now around this area. We, as a consumer, we don't have to take a bunch of extra clicks. We're literally in here right now looking at listings, right? Now, she could have sent us to like this page and said, well, I'm not exactly sure what they want. Look, you got a pretty good idea. Okay, they were on your blog post about Summerstone condos, right? So we don't necessarily want to send them to a page where they have to try to figure out how to find the stuff we were talking about, right? This is just a bunch of extra clicks that they have to take, right? They come in here and say, well, let me try to figure, like, the less clicks it takes them to find the information that they wanted to get from us, the better off we're going to position ourselves for them to do what we wanted them to do, which at the end of the day, let me clear up a couple tabs here, was give us their contact information, right? So the person's in here, they start messing around on here, and by the time they get to the second house, we're going to try to capture their contact info. Now, one of the things that she did in here that you want to make sure you do, when you create these links, let me go in here and show you. Look, I'm assuming that most of you guys know how to create a link in here, but essentially you just highlight the words, and you would come over here to the chain, and you would say, okay, this is where I want to place this link. She has told that link to open in the same window. Whenever you link from your blog post to your website or to the place that you want the consumer to be, open it in the same window. If you're going to link off to somebody else's website, open that in a new window because you want your blog post to still be there. When they open it in a new window, it would do something like this. They're on the blog post, right? Maybe I sent them off like down here. She's got one to the homeowners association. Now she doesn't, but let's say she did. Right? Let's say this was a link to the homeowners. It would open a new window here, so that our blog post was still there. But when we're sending them to look at our listings, we don't care if they ever find that blog post again. It's done its duty, right? Its duty was to get them over to our website, right? Because we've got lead capture opportunities here. So we're going to open that in the same window anytime that we're linking to our own website. Again, the blog post has done its duty. Her ability here to link to a very specific place on her website is paramount to your ability to generate leads. Okay? You need to learn for yourself and learn on your own website, like, what abilities do you have? Do you have the ability to create these very specific links to very specific areas of your website? Like, remember, we saw the other post from her right here about foreclosure properties for sale in Eagle River, right? And we would expect, I mean, she's got a formula here. You can kind of tell it if we were to go from post to post of hers and look at what she's doing, right? On each of her posts, very clear and very early, it's going to give them a chance to find those properties, right? Here's a daily updated list of all foreclosure properties for sale in Eagle River, Alaska. And if we were to click on this, what do we expect to find? The foreclosures, right? In that particular part of her market. In this case, Eagle River. And so what she's done here is she said, okay, look, I'm going to go to my website when I'm getting ready to write this blog post, and I'm going to do this search for the consumer so that they don't have to do it when they click the link. So she comes in here and she sets the area as Eagle River, right? She sets, like, when she first gets in here, it's probably something like this. She goes, okay, we're just talking about foreclosures here, okay? And she can leave all the rest of that maybe open, right? But she knows this search right here is going to give her Eagle River foreclosures, right? It's going to give her those same 3 homes that we saw when we clicked on the link out of the blog post. I can't stress enough how important this is. Like, we learned our lessons the hard way. We used to do a lot of pay-per-click advertising when we had our real estate brokerage. And over the years, we got better at understanding that, look, if we were running pay-per-click ads for foreclosures in Eagle River, we needed to make sure that the landing page that somebody landed on was exactly what they thought they were going to get, foreclosures in Eagle River. Okay, this page very clearly details, like, there's 3 houses that are in Eagle River that are in foreclosure. These are them. So one of the things that's not kind of a part of your action items or your homework is look at your website and understand, like, can you do this? And then the second part would be, do you have lead capture on your website? Because if you don't, right, getting them here, it didn't really help you that much, right? I don't have, if they've left my website and I don't have their contact information, what good did that do me? Right? If I don't have a website that operates like this, like, my only chances at lead capture are, like, somebody emails me, right, or maybe somebody calls me, as it relates to listings. So that landing page is just super important. I already went over this. I really stressed it. You have to be able to get them on the right spot. Okay, like this happens to be from that last example, right? Cedar Heights, there's 3 homes for sale. Right away when they land here, they're seeing listings. Okay, I don't have a big map up there distracting them. Like, they wanted to see listings in that area, right? They did a search like Eagle River condos for sale or whatever it was that landed them on our blog post. We now have this obvious way to feed them back. Be specific, have a target, and this isn't necessarily related to our blog post, but you can take these same kind of very specific landing pages from your website and you can use them in other areas, right? Facebook, Twitter, like in Finney Ridge in Seattle, like, if you could ever get your hands on a 2-bedroom condo for $129,000, like, that's a big, huge deal, right? And so I can go into my IDX, my website, and I can create these very specific sorts of links that allow people to land in very specific places on my website. Okay, so links and that's kind of the obvious one, right? Like that's the way that people get from point A to point B on the internet in general. The other way that we could potentially do something like this is we could entice them with images. Okay, and each of these images that you see here on my screen, I made these things in about 4 minutes. And they're super easy on a website called ipicky.com, and you basically just start with an image. So I started with either ones of these images, and then you're able to add little words to it. So like the one on the left, if I was doing a blog post about new construction in Kirtland under $400,000, like this could be an image that I could use in there. Katrina does a really good job with enticing them with an image, and this image actually becomes something you can click on, and we can realize that as we roll over. Our cursor changes, right, to my little hand, which would indicate I can click on it. When we go in here, let's say we've added the image into our blog post. Okay, what you can do is, in order to create a link out of that image, and she's already done that, so let me grab her link here. And I'm going to break this link on her for a second. So it's broken. But right now, when we click on the image, now we can add a link. Okay, so I can come in here to this image and say, look, if somebody clicks on this, this is where I want them to go. And for her, that happens to be whatever it is, the Summerstone condos, right? This is going to be her URL from her website. That's a search for all these different types of properties in this certain price range in this certain area, right? That's getting us essentially the condos in that area in a certain price range. And then she had Summerstone condos for sale in East Anchorage or something. Right? Now her image now is a link, right? And when somebody came back to this blog post, you know, if they were in here looking and they said, ooh, listings, like that's what I wanted, right? And they're going to click on this. It's going to take them to that listing page. So images are a good way for you to be able to kind of entice people a little bit, right? If you want to get this thing wrapped in here around the content, or the content wrapped around the image, let me show you how that's done. So I get in here. Let me save this image for just a second here. So this is where that image is at. Now, this is something that we could have uploaded. Okay, so she's got a post that essentially looks like this without the image. Okay, but she wants that image over here on the right-hand side, so she's going to come in here. Wherever we put our cursor, that's going to be where the top of the image is at. So I want it to be up at the top of the page. So I'm going to put my cursor right there. I'm going to come in here and add an image. Okay, and in this case, I have the image URL. Now, you guys would probably upload the image directly from your machine, but, right, so there's the image. Right, I give it an image description, so it's going to be condos for sale, East Anchorage, something like that. Title might be, you might match her keyword phrase, Summerstone condos. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is come over here to appearance, and I'm going to do this alignment, and I'm going to throw it off to the right. And what that does is it takes the image and it pushes it off to the right, and it wraps the text around the left-hand side. Then I'm going to give the image some vertical and horizontal space, just put some good white space around it. Then I'm going to come down here and say insert. And it's going to drop that image. It's going to be way too big, so I can click on it. I can bring it back, get it into a more comfortable size. Now I've got something that's a good image. It's wrapped around the edge. Okay, and somebody can come in here and I could make this a link if I wanted. Now, I'm not going to change that because she's got it all set up exactly how we would want it. But we can see how this sort of an image, pretty darn good way to get to draw people's attention and let them realize, wow, like right here, like if I click here, there's going to be something that I want. Right? In my particular example here, right, my blog post was probably about Green Lake foreclosures. And then again, we always want to make sure images, links, no matter what it is, that we're landing them at that right spot. Another option for you to be able to kind of get your listings in front of people, and this is a function of your IDX, you may have the ability to create these search widgets. And so a search widget, for me, a search widget becomes something that I should have kind of always present somewhere around my blog post. And I'll give you an example of this. There's a lady, so I got Katerina and I got Katrina, but over here on the side of Katerina's blog is going to be this search homes box. And so not all of her content is going to be about like some specific area, right? Now here she's writing about the Aero Club but as we get down to maybe look at other pieces of content she has, and it looks like she's got a bunch ready to go, she may have content in her blog that's geared towards consumers, right? Top 5 listing strategies to get sellers to call you, right? Maybe this is something that like would end up in front of a seller, but they aren't necessarily, like, there's not any good links in here for her to be able to link back to listings on her website, but she's always kind of has this search homes box hanging out somewhere on her blog, right? So if people stumble across a random post, she's got a search widget in there that allows them to be able to find houses. And again, that's going to be a function of your own website. But get those widgets in there. Think about, where does it make sense to have them? Does it make sense to have them in my signature line? Like, definitely it makes sense to have them on that right-hand panel of our blog, because people are going to find posts that aren't necessarily related to like specific markets where we had good, strong links in there, but they may take the opportunity to get out there and start searching on their own. Okay, let's talk about home values for just a little bit. Like I said, listings are going to be the major driver of leads for your blog and really for most of your online marketing. Okay, it's a little bit harder to get a listing lead, to get a seller lead from your blog, but it's not impossible. And so if people are going online and looking for home values, okay, the first thing is you want to make sure you have some good links that go back to a page on your website where somebody can ask for a valuation on their home, right? Most of our website, we don't have the Zillow algorithms on there, and most of us don't have these things on our website that like show values, right? Like sites like Zillow. I don't even know if it's legal for us to do that like it is for Zillow. But we definitely want to have a page on our website that allows people to find out what their home is worth. And this is something that we can kind of potentially, and let me see if she does this. This is something that we could potentially kind of get into our blog posts in some different areas. And she doesn't do it here. She's got one in here, like if you'd like to get a free report on your home's value, you could go to this page. This is something that I might even suggest that you get like a little bit higher into this content, because somebody looking for information about the Summerstone condos, there's the potential they could be somebody that lives there and they're looking to sell, right? Maybe they went online to try to figure out like who's marketing these condos really well online, and they found our blog post, but they really just wanted to figure out like what. Well, I'll give you an example that from a post that I've written that's like a demo post. And this post, I may have shown this to you guys in the past, but this post actually generates leads for me. And I feel bad about it because it's just it's a dummy website that we have set up. But like, people have clicked on these links out of here. Let's see, it's not even, the site's not even working, so I'm not generating any leads recently. But this is like a test site that we use for different things. But I've got the ability for somebody to get the value on their home, and my links are dead. But you'll see I've got, right, get the value of your Seattle home or condo today, right? This is something that she could have done a little bit higher here, like, here's find similar condos. Hey, do you own a condo in this area and you'd like to get a value for it, right? A good strong link right there out to a page on her website, and I'll show you where that page on her website would be, right? It would be this page, her sell page, right? What's my home worth? She's got a video on there with pricing tips. She's got all sorts of stuff down here about what she does, but the real goal for her is to try to get that person to give her their information. The sites that you're watching me use today, or the main site I'm using, is a market leader website. Market Leader owns ActiveRain. Okay, there's other sites out there, IDX Broker, RealtySoft. There's other companies out there that create sites that do the same thing that Katrina is able to do with her Market Leader site. I'm using Market Leader because I'm familiar with it. Okay? Video can be a good way to entice sellers, and I really like what this gentleman's done with his video. He actually puts his listing he has his listing presentation as a video, and he will insert it in the blog post. He will insert it on his profile page. He will have that thing showing up on the right-hand sidebar of his blog. He understands that giving sellers an idea about what you do for them as their listing agent can be a very powerful, can be a very compelling reason for them to reach out and want to connect with you. Okay, so he uses video. Another great use of video as it relates to sellers is client testimonial videos. All right, so if you're not using video at all, a couple of ways that I might suggest that you use it is think in terms of sellers, or maybe even buyers, but think in terms of like, what do I do for my clients? And how can I relay that to them in a fashion that would get them to want to reach out and connect with me? Right? Video is a very powerful medium for that. So something about your listing presentation, maybe on the page, something about, client testimonial videos. If it's if you're writing about like the Summerstone condos, man, if she had a video about this area, like that would be a good thing to try to work into here, right? Now, she doesn't have videos yet, but knowing this lady, I would guess that videos are just around the corner for her. Right? Incorporating those videos into what the videos do, they just reinforce to the person that you're someone they want to work with. And let's talk about information for a little bit, right? They want information. Like, how can we deliver information? Well, our blog posts are generally serving as information. So when somebody's landed on our blog post, a lot of times they just want the information. Maybe they're not even looking for listings. Like somebody doing a search of Summerstone condos in East Anchorage, they might have wanted the homeowners association's information. They might have wanted to know, what kind of amenities are nearby, but they're not ready to start looking at houses yet. They're just kind of comparing different areas. Right? Our blog posts serve as information all day long, right? Information about the home buying and selling process. But what are some ways that we might be able to take advantage of the information that people's looking for in order to get them to become a lead? These three icons that you see, or these three images that you see here, and we actually saw one of those images on Katrina's blog post, we will make these available to you guys. These are images that we created. They're pretty generic, and you'll have an ability in the homework or the action items from today's class to get these images. You'll be able to download them on your own computer and use them in your blog posts if you want. But they relate to market stats, school reports, community reports, these different kinds of things. Now, these could be things that you've written other blog posts about, right? And we might just link from one blog post to another blog post, right? They're looking at information about the Summerstone condos, and I've written another blog post about the schools in the area, and I could link over to that. But maybe there's a better way, and Katrina, in her use down here of like this image, for instance, and she actually does this in some other places with links here where she talks about, right, get detailed information on school districts. She's actually linking back to her website, and her website allows her to have a little bit of flexibility in giving information about particular areas. If she was doing some market report types of things, okay, she's got some pages on her website that automatically pull in market data for her, right? So if her blog post was about the Summerstone condos, she might have this market page set up for condos in a particular zip code, right? Just kind of give people an idea of what's going on in that market, right? If they wanted to get community info, They can get that information, right? Or income information, crime information, all this. She's got all this great information back on her website, and she wants to make sure that she has clear paths to that information from her content. The reason this might even be better than, like, well, let's say it's school information, okay? The reason this might be better than sending them to another blog post about school information is on this page, right? There's an ability for them to sign up and get into our funnel, right, to become a prospect for our business, right? And it's real obvious, right? So when you're talking about information, you want to really be thinking about, like, what does my website have on it that I can drive them back to, that has the information they want, but also has those kind of auxiliary lead capture opportunities for me. Another thing we can do as it relates to information is we can drive them to forms. And this form was created with a site called wufoo.com. And wufoo.com is a really simple way to create forms for your business. And the forms can either be hosted on a web page, so like this is actually an example of the form hosted on a web page, or the forms can be embedded into your blog content. Okay, and I think Carrie has a blog or a link right now that she's going to send out to you guys that shows you how to embed a Wufoo form into your blog post. The process of creating these forms is so ridiculously easy. I promise you that you can do one of them in like 5 minutes. Wufoo is a free site up to a certain amount of usage, and then it's like, I think we pay like $10 a month, and it's for as much Wufoo as we want. Okay, but these forms can be a good way to kind of engage people on your content. I'll give you an example here. All right, I've got my post about the Plaza del Sol condos. They're reading down here. And then at the bottom, I've got this form embedded in here that allows them to ask a question about Plaza del Sol. Here's a little secret about blogs in general. Consumers are not very apt to leave comments on blog posts because those things are made public, right? They're out there for everybody to see. So if somebody had a real question about Plaza del Sol, like they were thinking about selling and they wanted to see what they needed to do in order to get their taxes reassessed, like they're probably not going to ask that question as a comment in my blog post, right? But they might be apt to ask it in this setting, a form where they probably realize it's not going to just be left out there I don't know how to spell reassessed, obviously. All right, and I can make this, it could have said, great, thanks, I'll get back to you with an answer in the next 24 hours. Like I can make this say whatever I want it to say. But the idea is I give them kind of an extra option on that page to be able to get some piece of information from me. Okay? I want you guys to put your thinking caps on a little bit, because inside of our blog content, we have the ability to offer something of value to the folks that are reading, to get them to exchange their contact information for that something of value. But what kinds of things of value can we offer them, right? We can offer them like the, automated home search, right? Like we have that on our website. We could have something on our page that said, get listing updates as they hit the market, right? We could have, get a free list of foreclosures and short sales. We could have, get a $350 discount on your home inspection when you buy with Bob Stewart, right? What are some other things that you guys could think of? And I'd like you to share some ideas right now in the question and answer area. What are some other ideas you guys could think of that would be things that you potentially have in your business, right? Resources that people might find value in, right? Maybe it's like a relocation guide that you've created. That would be something where if somebody's looking in your area and they come across your blogs, right, and they're thinking about moving to town, like a relocation guide might be something where somebody would consider giving you their email address in exchange for getting this relocation guide. A mortgage calculator, that's a good one, right? The mortgage calculators a lot of times are kind of widgets that are out there for you to be able to, like, I know Trulia has one, Zillow has one, these different your lender might have one that you can place on there. Ralph says you could offer to pay for a home warranty. Yeah, that's a good one. Relocation guides, absolutely. The Lowe's 10% discount. Deborah says, I wrote a book about how to fix your credit in order to purchase a home. Yeah, that's absolutely a great thing that you could offer somebody. Dale says, you guys are giving a lot of good examples here of things that you could offer. I want you to really think about that. Like, what could I put in my blog content? And it could even be other blog posts. And let's talk about that in a second. But here's how I would go about allowing somebody to download a piece of content. So let's say, let's do Deborah's example. She says she's got a book that she wrote about how to fix your credit in order to purchase a home. And maybe that's something people can buy on Amazon for, $10 or whatever she charges for it. But she's willing to give this thing away to prospects in exchange for their contact information. So how do you do that? Well, the first thing you have to do is figure out where to host the content. Okay? There's a lot of places out there, and she would probably have this thing in a PDF. So let's say we make it a PDF, and we got to figure out where to host it. She could host it on Google Docs and make it like a public document. And then she's got a URL of where somebody can go to get that. Right? We host ours on Wistia. It could even be a blog post that you have somewhere else. But you have this thing that you're kind of keeping from them. Okay? They want it. Then you're going to create a form on Wufoo. Okay? And the form is going to be something that essentially asks for their contact information. So it's going to be, get my free credit repair book. Normally $10, right? A $50 value, whatever. Now when they fill that form out, there's an auto reply, and Wufoo allows you to do this two ways. One is you can redirect them to a page, or the second way is you can send them like a follow-up email. So she hosts her PDF on Google Docs or Wistia or there's a ton of places, right? Go to host free PDF on Google. You'll find all kinds of places to host this. She hosts the form. She hosts the PDF. She creates a form that says, get my free credit repair book. And when somebody fills that form out, they're automatically redirected to the page where her form is hosted. Or they're automatically redirected to the blog post that's her relocation guide. Right? The idea here is we want to get that piece of information from them in exchange for the something of value that we're offering them. Because think about it, if we just linked off to the PDF, right, and then they get over there and they download it, we never tracked them. We never got their contact information, right? So that form becomes that way that we are promising to deliver them something in exchange for their contact info. All right, so we got 15 minutes left. Here's what I want to do. The Wufoo stuff I think is really important, so I want to show you guys really quick how easy it is to create one of these forms. And so let me log in here. And while I'm doing that, if you guys have questions from some of the other stuff that we covered, feel free to shoot that question in, and then I'll come back and cover that in a second. Here's literally how easy it is to create a form. We come in here, we say new form. We want to put their name and their email address, and then we want to give them a chance to maybe ask a question. So we might do a paragraph of text, and we come in here and say something like, right, we just clicked on that so we could title the form. Done. Like, that's literally how easy it was to create the form. Now, I could have put other stuff in there, right? I could have come in here and put some different fields. I've got my form, though, right? And now I've got this code in here where I can come in and grab the embed code, and I can paste it into my blog post. Super easy, right? Now, let's say it was one like we were talking about with the Wistia or the the Google Docs, or we're going to have a PDF hosted somewhere. Okay, so we want to come in here and edit this form, and in the form settings, we want to show what happens when they confirm. So they've submitted the form, right? Maybe it says, there we go. All right. All right, we might take out this particular, let's get rid of that one. Yeah, let's delete that. So all we need is their name and email address, right? We come in here to our form settings, and then we would say, look, here's what we want you to do. Once they fill out this form, I want to redirect them to, that whatever that form is, right? Wherever that form's at, I'm going to redirect them there. Boom. Oh, I guess I put it there. Okay? Easy. Now I've got a form that I could embed into my content. Again, Carrie sent you out the link on how to do that would redirect them once they filled it out. Cheryl says, is Wufoo product called a landing page? There are landing pages on many listings leads product. Yeah, I mean, I would consider a Wufoo form a landing page. There's actually, when we come in here to code, there's a link for this form. That's the link for this form. Is that a landing page? Yeah, and you can spruce these things up. You notice the one that I had in this demonstration. That's the actual landing page. It has like my logo on it. It's got a background on the page. It's a little bit more involved than the one we just created because I haven't done anything with this one. I haven't edited it at all. But yeah, this could be considered a landing page, absolutely. Right? If you didn't have something on your website like Katrina has here with her cell, right? What's my home worth? I don't know if you guys can hear that video, but that scared me. If you don't have something like this, like you could absolutely create a Wufoo form that looks similar to this, right? And that could become a landing page for any time you wanted to drive somebody back to give them a home valuation or the offer of a home valuation. Have a fantastic rest of your week, and we'll see you guys real soon at Active Brain University. On behalf of Carrie and Michelle, my name is Bob. Bye-bye, everybody.